Venom Let There Be Carnage is finally hitting theaters this weekend, and it is absolutely an insane movie. Now, we have a lot to talk about, and of course this will be non-spoilers, because there's so much to dissect, surprisingly, for an hour-and-a-half movie, especially because of the end credit scene, which you will not want to miss! Trust me, might have to do a completely separate video on that one once the film is released, but we're going to have some great discussions down below in the comments section, and let's have this thought. We're most likely going to have a Venom trilogy, which, depending on who you are, that might excite you. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today we're discussing the sequel to Venom. This one called Venom Let There Be Carnage. Tom Hardy returns to the big screen as the lethal protector Venom, one of Marvel's greatest and most complex characters, who now must face off against Cletus Kasady himself, Carnage. And Carnage is played by Woody Harrelson. Now, this movie is directed by Andy Serkis, who I love. Whether he's acting or directing, this guy has an eye for talent and just has this passion when it comes down to the movie industry. So all those things leading up, I was kind of more excited for this one than I was the first one. The first one I was optimistic about because I love Tom Hardy as an actor. But when I went to go see that movie, I enjoyed it for what it was. But it was not everyone's cup of tea, and I actually thought, as time has gone on, it's okay. It's a good movie that I enjoy, but there's a lot of issues that I have with that. And what I will say is that the trailers for Venom Let There Be Carnage knows exactly what this movie was and sold you on what this film was. That kooky, crazy tone and kind of cheesiness that the first one had, where it kind of maybe reminded you of like an early 90s superhero film or even the early 2000s, that is still what Venom Let There Be Carnage is. But they wipe away all that dark and kind of more serious tone that the first one tried to enhance into it that did not need it at all. They take all of that out and make this into an hour-and-a-half comic book movie that's just straightforward to what it is. And depending on who you are, you're going to enjoy this. I think if you like the first Venom film, you're going to walk out of this one going, this one was even better. And if you didn't like the first Venom film, you might walk out of this one being, that was bad, or, oh, that was slightly better, but still not great, and probably talking more about the end credit scene, because the end credit scene is insane, and you will not want to miss it, and definitely do not want to be spoiled on it, because it's pretty mind-blowing, and we're going to have a lot of conversations about that. Of course, before we get any further into this review, if you guys are new here and you guys love talking movies, then this is the channel for you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below your guys' thoughts. Are you guys fans of the first Venom film? Are you guys excited for Venom Let There Be Carnage? Let's discuss it all down there. I think one of the things that I loved about the first Venom was Tom Hardy's relationship with Venom, and that is escalated here to that next level. Andy Serkis really develops it and brings it into its own light, and a nuanced way that I actually really appreciated what Serkis was able to bring to the table. Because when I used to read Venom back in the day, I did love that banter between them both, and that is escalated here. The humor works. The chemistry, even though it's Tom Hardy pretty much talking with Tom Hardy, works. And you're sitting there just smiling. In fact, all those stupid things or just weird things that they would have between one another in the first one, there are more moments like that, and I lost it at multiple times where I just sat there dying of laughter at certain things that Venom would say to Eddie Brock or things that Eddie Brock would say to Venom. And you're going to feel that exact way too, because, I mean, again, maybe the humor is not for you because humor can be subjective, but I just sat there laughing my ass off, maybe at things that I shouldn't have been, and I just couldn't stop smiling. Also, since we have those two, you gotta imagine, well, what's it gonna be like between Woody Harrelson and Carnage? And their relationship is a little bit more toxic and different and more violent, and I guess, as you can say, Carnage, and I really dug that. You know, while I still have some small issues with Carnage, which we'll talk about, I did think bringing this character to life on the screen for someone like me who, I remember when I was a kid and I didn't know if we were going to get a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 4, there was always rumors that Woody Harrelson was going to possibly play as Carnage in there, and there was like these fan posters, and I'd be like, this is so cool, I want Carnage in this world. Never got it. I mean, that's just what happens, but I still sat there in awe of how much fun that was, and I wanted more from that, and to finally get Carnage on the big screen, I count that as an accomplishment, and I thought that was a lot of fun, and again, their banter, their dynamic really worked, and when you go head to head with Tom Hardy and Woody Harrelson, their acting capabilities are great. And Woody Harrelson kind of brings this natural born killer's vibe to the entire screen as a serial killer Cletus Kasady. And he just eats up every scene of dialogue. And Tom Hardy, again, is just great in the role. You can see how much he loves playing Eddie Brock and Venom. And I hope to see more of them into just the future of whatever they decide to do, because I think they're just such a fun dynamic. And let's talk about Venom versus Carnage, because that's why you're coming to the movie, and it works. I mean, to be honest, there really isn't that much Venom versus Carnage until the third act, but even the trailers for what they showed was really nothing. The fight was badass, and you just sit there going, hell yeah. It just feels like that heavy UFC fight night type movie that you want to watch. And I really equivalent this to Godzilla vs. Kong, which came out earlier this year, where you go and see that and you just want to see two gigantic monsters punch each other. It's kind of the same thing here. You want to see Carnage versus Venom beat the shit out of each other, and it's just great. The lethal protector versus the serial killer symbiote. That's what you get. I ate it up, man. I sat there and I wanted to shove more popcorn in my face and just sit there within a big wide theater, because when you're in a press screening, not that many people jump up and down and have fun with it, which I don't assume they would. But this is just a movie that you see on opening night, you rave about with friends, you laugh, you smile, and you just, again, you turn your brain off for an hour and a half. Where it kind of comes down to Andy Serkis. I think for me, Andy Serkis looked at the material of the first movie, looked at some of the older Venom comics, and really much said, I'm going to double down on this. And he does. Again, there's no really serious tone to this all. It's mostly just a turn off your brain, have fun, 90s comic book film, and that's exactly what it is. In fact, I equivalent this that if home videos and like Blockbuster are still open, this would be the comic book film that you would go in and you would go to the back of the store and see what there is, and you would find this random VHS of some movie that says Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and you'd literally pick it up, you'd take it home and watch it and be like, oh shit, this is a really cool movie. That's how I kind of walked out of this. I was like, it's stupid in its own way, because I understand what this is, and growing up on both versions of Venom, like the more serious, darker tone Venom, that's kind of more in line with Carnage and what most people think of him today, and then the more goofy type of Venom that we are getting in these movies, and I like them both. So I'm not, either way on the movies, but for me, if you like the first Venom, you're gonna like this one. And something I do want to claim as well was the score for this, the music, it just fit the tone so well, and something that really pointed it all out to the fact that when a rap song came on in the end credits scene, I was so like, what? Why are we doing rap music now? It was so different, but again, really fit the tone, and the whole entire movie just knew exactly what it wanted to be. People love the humor, the audience loved it, they responded well to that, so let's double down on that, and you're gonna laugh. I mean, I sat there just laughing my ass off at multiple moments. But let's talk about my cons, because this isn't a perfect movie. Just like the first one, where I think this one is better than the first one in quite a few ways. It's not as serious, which thank God, it's not as dragged down for some dull, boring moments. But the big thing that I can give it is, again, I was excited to see Carnage, and I think Carnage is a little bit held back from the PG-13 rating. I think they do as much as possible that they can with him, but I do think for an hour and a half, while the movie flies like that, I still felt like the film dragged at certain points, because it's not just a straight action film. There's multiple different things that I have issues with, and one of them is Carnage. We get some cool Carnage moments, but I wanted more from him. As badass as it was to see Venom versus Carnage and see Carnage slaying people and going out on that, I still wanted more, and I didn't feel satisfied fully from that element. Shriek was cool, but again, needed a little bit more development, and even the other characters besides Eddie Brock, and really much anyone, there's no real character arc or even, progression for anyone. It's just the day in the life of Eddie Brock and Venom. Oh, we gotta face Carnage today. Cool, let's do it. And that's also where it kind of goes the other thing, is there is a subplot between Venom and Eddie, where Venom and Eddie kind of break up for 10-15 minutes, and they aren't together, and it's weird, and I didn't love that personally, and it kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 2, which I don't even know why I'm comparing this film to Spider-Man 2, because Spider-Man 2 is one of the all-time greatest comic book films of all time, but for some reason that subplot put in my head, I'm like, this is kind of like Spider-Man 2, you gotta rejoin back together so you can go save the day, and that's kind of what this was, I guess. It really wasn't. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. So Venom Let There Be Carnage is that random, insane, entertaining comic book movie you would find buried in the back of a home video store that you think's cool. It's entertaining. It's funny. I laughed my butt off. And depending on who you are, you'll either think this is the dumbest thing you've ever watched or purely just the most insane, bonkers, batshit comic book film you'll watch this year. I enjoyed it, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they do with Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock next. I think it's cool, it's excellent in its own way, shape, and form, and I think Andy Serkis brought a new light to this character that the first one did not really elevate on. Carnage was cool for the most part, and the Venom versus Carnage fight was awesome, but I did want more of Carnage, and I do think the film drags just a slight bit, even though it's an hour and a half, with that subplot of Venom and Eddie breaking up. I wish that did not happen in the movie, but trust me when I say this, people won't just be leaving the theater talking about Venom versus Carnage. They'll be talking about the end credit scene, which I'm not going to talk about here. You need to experience it for yourself. Beware of the comic section. I'm sure someone will spoil it down there. But this is something that's mind-blowing to me, and I'm really excited to see what they do next with it. Venom Let There Be Carnage is a fun time, depending on who you are. For me, it was fun. I thought it was insane. And I kind of just smiled and laughed the entire time and turned my brain off. And that's the perfect kind of comic book movie that we need. Most of the time we have to at least think or do something of this nature. So it's kind of a nice fresh breath there to have this. So with all that said, I'm going to give Venom Let There Be Carnage a B-. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are on this movie. Do you guys enjoy this? Do you not? Let's talk about it all down below in the comments section. I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this one. And also make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on your guys' way out. If you're interested in seeing movies early like this one, make sure to head on over to Samtron Films on how to see films early. And of course, just a big thank you to you. And a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. So of course, until next time, stay classy.